welcome to this week's episode of A Lost Cause. I'm Shawna.
And I'm Annie.
It's kind of a bittersweet episode because in some ways it's almost our last episode.
She says in some ways and almost because we are actually, the footage for the first two episodes actually has been lost. And we can't, and we can't get it to YouTube. So we're essentially redoing the Jack and Kate podcast in one.
Yeah, so you may have noticed if you watch our podcast, it starts at I think episode 4. But that's only because our first 3 podcasts we just recorded. It was like audio recording. And then we decided to make it a video podcast.
And the first one was just an introduction to the podcast, just kind of like going over some stories. How I first watched it, blah, blah, blah. Which no one cares about, so.
But so that the important characters of Jack and Kate are not lost. I mean, it would be like a very strange lost podcast to not
Well, strange
have
is
episodes.
Kind of our thing.
True, yeah. We are the ones that have episodes about, characters no one else would. And today we are talking about 2 very significant characters on Lost. Jacob and the Man in Black, a.k.a. Smoke Monster.
Yeah. He doesn't have an actual name, which is very weird and very sad, too.
Yes. And so throughout the series, there's all these questions, that we kind of want answers to. And probably the biggest one is, the smoke monster. And it's this pillar of smoke that we see kind of at the beginning, right from the start. And it, chases people. It has this very distinctive sound. And so, right from the beginning of the series, there's all these questions of, what is it? And do they call it the smoke monster on the show?
No. They just call it the monster.
Right.
There's no mention of smoke for whatever reason. And I don't really know why fans call it the smoke monster either.
Yeah.
I don't know how that started, if it's just always called the monster. But
it really stuck, though, because everybody did call it the smoke monster. And there were all kinds of theories about it. So can you describe a little better, what does the smoke monster do?
Sure. So the smoke monster usually travels as a giant black pillar of smoke, just terrorizing pretty much. We don't actually see it, but we see the consequences of it when the pilot, or no, not the pilot, but the co-pilot is taken up by the smoke monster, and then just blood gets everywhere.
Right.
And so you're like, oh no, what was that? That wasn't Jack and Kate. What was that? And it makes very specific sounds.
Yes.
Too. So that's
And what is
something.
The sound?
So
actually?
The sound is actually the sound that of a taxi receipt being printed.
Right. In New York specifically, apparently. Right?
Yeah, so that's all you hear. And so it was supposed to be familiar, but you can't quite put your finger on it because it is just such a specific noise. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, if you live in New York, you'd probably catch on pretty quick.
Yeah.
If you take cabs, but
And doesn't Rose make that comment?
I think maybe.
Yeah,
she does, but
it is this weird sort of clicking sound.
Clicking and mechanic sounds too, which is so that was always something that was it's got to be something other than it has to actually be a monster, because there was a big theory that it was dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. But I never liked that theory. Why would a dinosaur be ticking?
I don't know why there was this big push for dinosaurs. Early on there were so many dinosaur theories. Why? It's funny.
I guess we'll never know.
And then at one point I believe it's described as a security system for the island, so then that, spawned a lot of theories too.
Right, but then, if it's security, then why did the others want it out? Because there's that one episode with Kate and Juliet, and the smoke monster actually starts chasing them, and so Juliet, they get behind the super strong fence, and the smoke monster actually can't get past it.
Right.
But another thing is that it can't attack you if you're in the, like, mangrove trees.
Okay. Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And then also the ashes.
The ashes too, which actually aren't ashes. It's actually, well, it is ash, but it's volcanic ash.
Right.
Which is revealed in the original script for The Man Behind the Curtain, which was probably going to have something to do with the volcano storyline that we never got to see.
Yes.
My personal theory is that it would have ended with Frodo dropping the ring in the volcano, but we didn't ever get to see that, so.
Fair enough, yes. And then along the way, there's a bit of a suggestion that, like, the smoke monster is some kind of judge, and it's not necessarily bad.
Oh, and another big aspect of the smoke monster is that it can take the form of deceased people, but, like, mostly deceased people on the island. So, for example, we see Echo's brother, Yemi.
Yemi, yeah.
And who else?
Well, Christian Shepherd.
Right, Christian Shepherd, I think, is the first one.
Yeah.
That we see.
But we don't know that for a really long time.
Well, I think I knew because my dad has such a big mouth. But,
you know, when we see these sort of dead people on the island, and I mean, particularly Christian Shepherd, we don't really know, like, if they're ghosts, if the island has brought them back to life. So it takes quite a long time for us to actually connect that with the smoke monster. I think it becomes, is it with Yemi confronting Echo that that gets revealed? Like, then he turns into the smoke monster?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
The smoke monster has a reputation for just, like, heartlessly attacking people and really kind of, like, mauling them violently. And that's sadly what happens to Echo.
But for a while, there's this suggestion that, you know, like, there's the black and white, there's the good and bad. The others say they're the good guys. They're making lists of good people. And then there's this scene where the smoke monster is chasing John Locke and kind of, like, takes a...
Yeah, like, takes a photo, like, it goes white.
Yeah, it's almost like
scanning.
An inventory, like, scan. And leaves him alone, right? And so then at that time, John Locke believes, like...
Right, but I think it's just if you're a candidate, that's what happens. That's my theory.
Well, it's hard to say,
like and then he'll leave you alone.
What happened there, but the suggestion at the time is if you're good, the smoke monster isn't going to judge you. And for a while, like, John Locke isn't even afraid of the smoke monster because he says, you know, I've looked into the heart of this island and, you know, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
But then at a later point, like, the smoke monster does, nearly kill John Locke, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like, you know, kind of you wonder, did the writers know what they were going to do with the smoke monster from the beginning?
Probably not, but I think that's what makes it so good, right?
Yeah, because it's always changing. It's very fluid. And then we've talked about this on previous episodes in terms of, like, okay, so we know that every time we see Christian Shepherd on the island, it is the smoke monster. Also true of Yemi. But there's a little bit of debate about other characters, such as Emily, Ben's mother, and then Dave.
Yeah. Dave could very well be just a figment of Hurley's imagination. Sort of like a... Not exactly. I know I should stop comparing. This is the second time in this podcast. But it's kind of like a Smeagol Gollum thing because once he says, like, go away, then Dave actually does. Which I don't think would... I mean, that doesn't happen with Christian Shepherd. Doesn't happen with Yemi.
It is curious.
And then Emily is, like, a completely different story. Because I think that the show wanted us to think that it is the smoke monster, but it had already been, like, determined that the smoke monster can't go past that barrier.
Right.
And we see her at Ben's window, bedroom window, which would mean that the smoke monster would have been able to get through.
Yes. So that's kind of the strongest evidence that it's not the smoke monster, that it's actually just maybe the
Like
ghost,
a ghost
of Emily.
Yeah.
That's also what Richard asks Ben the first time he meets him, like, has your mother ever been on the island? Like, he's clearly trying to figure out if it's the smoke monster or something else. I think that Dave, it's a bit of an open question because, you know, for a while we're sort of like, oh, maybe Hurley has mental health issues and, you know, he really sees things that aren't there. That's what it seems like in that Dave episode. And yet, like, later it becomes clear, like, no, you know, dead people just visit Hurley and can talk to him. So Dave might just be another example of that. However, like, just how malevolent Dave is on the island would suggest that it is the smoke monster. Mm-hmm. But there's no really satisfactory explanation as to how the smoke monster could take Dave's form.
Another thing I'm just, like, thinking of is these cases are very different because it you do wonder, like, because we've seen people come in dreams. Like, Boone comes in, like, a vision dream.
Right.
We see Ana Lucia in Echo's dream. But we've never seen, and we've seen people who are the smoke monster, who, like, the smoke monster have embodied, but we've never, so these two are different. And so I think it is kind of up to the viewer to decide.
Yeah, which is nice, that it kind of gives you room to sort of have your own personal view on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the smoke monster. We'll talk more about the smoke monster a bit later. But then, of course, the other character that is a mystery, not for quite as long as the smoke monster, but for a few seasons anyway, you know, we hear about this Jacob. And so when's the first time we hear about Jacob?
Probably in either season 2 or season 3. I think season 3.
Is it in Room 23 when it says...
I think so. And it had been, like, probably just a couple days after we watched the Room 23 episode, and it says, God loves you as he loved Jacob. And I was like, I got invited to a birthday party by my friend named Jacob. I didn't, you know, give it any thought because I just thought that the Room 23 is just, like, irrelevant photos just to brainwash people. And so I was, like, talking to Shawna. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I should go to this birthday party. And she's like, well, who is it? And I'm like, it's my friend Jacob. She was like, Jacob? And so that's when I knew, okay, so this isn't just a subplot. Yeah. This is, like, gonna be... Then I ended up wearing my Dharma Initiative shirt to the party because that's how...
That's how you roll.
That's just me. And his mom was like, oh, you watched Lost? Like, I tried to get Jacob to watch it with me. And I was like, yeah, I watched Lost. And I was like, is that why you named your son Jacob? And she was like, no. And I don't think she talked to me for the rest of that time. And I was the only girl there. And everyone else was on bikes.
But I don't think it was, like, a bad question.
No, it's kind of, like, offensive.
No.
Well, okay, whatever.
But that just made me think of, like, at your baby sister Daisy's like, baby dedication at church. The pastor was like, oh, like, what's her name? And it's like Daisy Veronica Hope, right? Mm-hmm. And then he was like, and what's the significance of Veronica? And your mom was like, we like Veronica Mars. So, you know, it's not that crazy. But yes, whenever I hear the name Jacob, of course, I'm going to think of Jacob from Lost. And so then it becomes clear that the others are followers of Jacob. I'm not going to say that they worship Jacob necessarily, but he's definitely like this deity figure that mm-hmm. the others follow, that they believe in. Ben often, you know, makes references to, like, Jacob said he'd do it, Jacob will see it done.
Like, don't you believe in Jacob?
Right.
To Juliet, who probably does not care.
Well, she has to go along with it, though.
Yeah.
And to an extent, like, you know, when Ben makes that deal with her of, like, he tells her your sister is sick again, but if you agree to stay, you know, Jacob will see it done. He'll make sure she gets better. And, like, how can anyone guarantee that someone's going to recover from cancer, right? Especially off the island. But then she does agree to it. So, I mean, she must have some faith in Jacob.
Probably.
But how do you explain that, though? Like,
explain what?
Well, was she sick?
No.
And
I don't think she was sick.
You think
at
it was
all.
just a lie?
Well, because then the baby wouldn't have been born.
Well, didn't she supposedly get sick after the baby was born?
No, I don't think so.
But it doesn't really make sense that Jacob could heal someone off of the
No, I don't think she was ever sick again.
Okay.
I think that when she was cured, she was actually cured.
There you go. So we just get more and more kind of hints about it. And then finally it gets to the point where Locke is like, all right, enough is enough. We talk about this Jacob. You're taking directions from Jacob. But, you know, who's seen him? I want to talk to him. And so
thus begins the incredible journey in The Man Behind the Curtain, where they, go to the cabin. And a little secret that Ben has is that he's actually never seen Jacob. From a very young age, he's had a firm faith in Jacob, because Jacob, saved his life when he got brutally wounded by Saeed.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually hasn't ever seen Jacob, and Richard is the only one who has.
Yes.
So when, Ben is just putting on this act to bring John Locke to the cabin, which is actually like Horace's cabin, right? Well, it never explains that. We've talked about it in our Horace episode, which is, significantly lower views than our other ones, so maybe check that one out.
Yeah, check it out. It's called Circle of Trust.
But we do get a reaction from Richard when he's like, we're going to see Jacob. He's like, no, you're not. You've never seen Jacob.
But why do they think that Jacob is in this cabin in the first place?
I don't know.
Because he's not, right? Like, Richard would know that.
I don't know. But maybe, so I think that Richard is just like, oh, whatever, he's just playing one of his games.
There's a smoke monster now.
And, yeah, he's just, gonna let Ben do his thing. But, it does seem like Richard is kind of gatekeeping Jacob.
Totally.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So what happens when they get to the cabin?
Tornado happens inside the cabin. We're not in Kansas anymore, so to speak.
Yeah.
But, John Locke provokes Jacob. This is all in quotations if you're my mom and you're watching in the car. Things start flying. There's, a glass eye starts rolling, and paint jars break, and then John Locke just leaves. He just leaves Ben to die in there. Ben is still putting on his act. He's like, you've had enough fun.
Well, that's the thing, right? From Ben's perspective, it's all an act. Because, Ben...
He's talking to this chair.
Yeah, he thinks he's talking to an empty chair. He's got to put on this performance to kind of convince John Locke that he can talk to Jacob. John Locke's not buying it. Mm-hmm. He's like,
Well, he might be a little bit.
Well, he makes like he's not. Until things start kind of going crazy.
And, he just books it. And Ben is like, what is happening? Because he didn't, plan on that happening.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, so that was all the smoke monster. I think that was all the smoke monster. They don't, actually, write it out for us, spell it out for us, but, we can just assume that it's...
But it's weird because what does the smoke monster, or whoever is in there, who's supposed to be Jacob, say to John Locke?
He says, help me.
Yeah, so why would the smoke monster say that? Or is it really Jacob, And he's...
Well, it's the voice of Christian Shepherd.
Who we know is the smoke monster.
Yeah. And, but if, there's just, a random glimpse of who's in the chair, it's not, it's just some guy. It's not even Christian Shepherd. Yeah. It's just some guy.
So I think it's just meant to throw us off as viewers.
But, yeah, I think that the smoke monster knew that John Locke was kind of a weak link, because it does seem like, obviously the smoke monster does kind of target John.
Yes, yeah.
And, yeah, I think that was kind of because John Locke had so much influence on everybody,
right?
but he wasn't the main guy. Like, he wasn't Jack. I think that's what why the Smoke Monster kind of leaned more towards him, because we don't ever see the Smoke Monster challenging Jack, right?
Right.
We see Jack's challenge believing in Jacob, but we don't ever see anything with the Smoke Monster and him.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and then for a while we are led to believe that Christian Shepherd is Jacob, you know, because then we see him in the cabin with Claire, and he's like talking to John Locke. He's also the one that tells John Locke how to turn the wheel. When we see him on the freighter, he tells Michael, "You can go now." So for a very long time,
actually, that's true.
we think that Christian Shepherd is good. We think that maybe Christian Shepherd is Jacob. But it's quite the opposite. So let's get to it. Who is Jacob really?
Jacob really... What kind of question? Like, what do you want me to say to that?
Well, who is Jacob?
He's, I mean, essentially the protector of the island. You know, he, we learn very late into the show that he's supposed to protect this kind of light.
Yes. At the heart of the island.
At the heart of the island. He never actually goes there. He just assumes that because he's living in his foot, the Smoke Monster won't go there. Not the best security system.
But he knows where it is.
Right. He knows where... That's all that matters, really. Beyond the bamboo forest. There you go. So, yeah. He just... he lives in this giant foot statue. We have a photo of a miniature version of that statue that we saw in a random store with, like, a lot of weird
stuff.
Weird stuff.
Yeah. So then we actually see...
Like an Egyptian god.
Yeah.
And he's living in the foot of it.
So I think it's...
Four-toed foot.
When is the first time we see, like, the actual Jacob, like the real thing?
The real thing, I think, is actually the incident.
Yeah. So, like, the last episode of season 5,
and
that's
it's
how
just
it ends.
in flashbacks and that kind of other plot line with the Ajir heir who's going with Flock, who's very essential to this episode of our podcast, because and Flock is trying to get Ben to kill Jacob, and Ben is like, you know, he's willing to do that because Jacob let Alex die. Me and Donna were arguing today whether or not Alex's last name is Linus or Rousseau. You guys tell us. You tell us what you think. Just thought I'd mention that.
Well, I mean, I think we refer to her as Alex Rousseau, but she probably grew up as Alex Linus. It was her given name, though, by her mother. So, I mean, at least Ben let her keep her name. But
Yeah.
So then let's talk a little bit, before we get into kind of season 6 and everything we learn there, let's talk a little bit about the candidates.
Right. So the candidates... Oh, I know where this is going. The candidates are people who have been touched, like physically touched by Jacob, often through very, like, significant ways. For example, like Jack gets touched by Jacob through passing an Apollo bar. Which is, you know, a theme in the show.
Yeah.
And actually, Jacob meets him in most of the most significant moments in their lives.
Usually, yes. So there's like a really good episode where it kind of flashes back to the candidates, I should say, encounters with Jacob.
Yes. And so, like, Kate meets him when she's really little, and she's, you know, actively robbing a store.
Yeah, she's doing a bit of shoplifting
at the ripe age of 7 years old. And Jacob is like, that's the one. That robber and murderer. She's going to rule my island. And, you know, pays for the lunch kit for her and gets her out of trouble. And the touch is actually on her nose. He like boops her nose.
Okay.
That's how that one happened. And the significance is she has, or no, her little friend has the airplane.
The airplane, yeah, because that's her friend, right?
What's his name?
Tom? I can't remember
Tommy?
his name.
Not Tommy. It's not Tommy.
I know he's Sean Astin's brother, is the actor who plays him, but I can't remember the character's name.
And then Sawyer's is like, it's so sad. That poor little kid.
It's really sad.
It's at his parents' funeral.
Yeah.
And he's actively writing down this letter.
The letter
that he's going to, he
really
that
like
says,
shapes his whole
yeah,
future.
really, that says that he's gonna find whoever did it and kill Mr. Sawyer.
That's right.
And I think what Jacob does is he gives him a pen to write it with.
So yeah, it's not like direct contact, but
yeah. And then Saeed's is like after he leaves the island, he is reunited with Nadia, and and she gets run over.
And Jacob
because Jacob like kind of holds Saeed back while Nadia's crossing the street, which is another. We'll get to that. But
yeah.
Why did he let that happen?
Right.
Because that's kind of what, that was the trajectory for Saeed kind of, going mentally ill.
Well, going bad, yeah.
Yes. And I think it's like he has a map that was the physical touch.
Right.
Wow, that's so significant. And then, who else am I missing?
Well,
John Locke.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and Jin and Son. And Jack.
And Hurley.
So
those are the candidates.
Right, so I'm not going to go through every single
who correspond with
what?
The numbers.
Right, the numbers.
Yeah. Which is another great mystery
of
Lost.
Quick quiz. Who's who? What's the numbers?
Okay, but before we get to that, I want to talk about John Locke's encounter with
fine.
Because like I like it because it happens right after John Locke gets thrown out of the window by his dad. Jacob is like sitting on a bench reading All Things Must Converge by Flannery O'Connor, who's one of my favorite authors. I don't really think there's much significance to that other than just the title, like All Things Must Converge. Or I think it's not, sorry, I got that wrong. Everything That Rises Must Converge, I think it's called. It's a collection of short stories. Anyway, Jacob goes over to him while he's still lying on the ground. I think he puts his hand on his chest and says, "I'm sorry this happened to you." And for all we know, maybe that is what made John Locke survive, right? Like
that's actually true.
Because they keep saying, like, "Oh, don't feel so sad. It's a miracle you're alive." Okay,
now you do it.
I don't think I can do it.
Just try. Do you know any of them?
4, is that Locke? Oh, see, you go ahead.
Okay, so it's if I'm correct.
This is your moment, Annie.
4 is Reyes.
Okay.
8 Locke. 15 is Sawyer, yeah. 16 is Saeed. 23 is Jack. Then 42 is Quan.
Right.
Which I think is Jim. This is like common knowledge already.
But do we ever know what number Kate was?
Yeah, I think she's like in the hundreds.
Oh, okay.
Or like 80 something.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to go back and look at like the numbers of the people that are crossed off. But yeah, like they make like Kate's this big candidate right to the end, but I mean, she wasn't.
Yeah, she got crossed out because she became a mother after kidnapping a child. Why was she ever like a candidate? She's not very...
But it doesn't entirely explain the numbers because, like, as we know, the numbers have been around since the hatch was built.
Yes, true. But I would just like to mention I once spent my entire evening looking through, just scrolling on my phone, looking through all of the numbers, all the names.
Oh, yeah, okay. Like on the sundial thing? Or in the cave?
Yes, but they have it on Lostpedia, like the entire list.
Okay.
And, like, I guess they're only significant because of the numbers, but, like, Jacob was really just trying to get whoever he could to take his job from him. Because I already saw Rousseau. There's Linus. Probably Ben. Probably not his dad. Mm-hmm. But there's, like, a bunch of Dharma Initiative people, too.
Oh, interesting.
And, like, it just kind of seems like, what, you want Phil to protect the island? You want Radzinski to live in the foot making tapestries? I just really think that he needs a better job, and, I mean, obviously he's pretty persistent with his candidates, because is this a good time to bring our what's up with that?
Well, first, let's talk about, like, because you kind of alluded to it, the final 6, what do they have in common? Because Jacob actually does explain.
Right, they none of them had a perfect life, or, like, all of them had something bad.
None of them really have much to go back to. Mm-hmm. They're alone. They don't really have anyone to take care of.
And so he says that's why Kate was, like,
was
off,
removed from the list.
Because now she had to take care of Aaron.
And I remembered it wrong, because I remembered it sort of as, like, she was punished for, kidnapping Aaron. But then, no, it's just that she's a mother and Aaron is dependent on her.
Right.
Okay, but before we get to what's up with that, you talked about how Jacob touches each of the candidates.
Right.
And so I've told the story before, but I have to tell it again because this is the Jacob episode. So Annie's dad and I went to the Calgary Expo in, I don't remember what year. I want to say maybe 2015, around there. It was a great time. We met the cast of Beverly Hills 90210. Michael from Lost was there. Nobody was going up to his table. He actually, I felt a bit sorry for him because he was just kind of standing there, like, waiting for people to come. I mean, it was really early, so I'm sure he got lots of autographs and stuff. But Jacob was also there, the actor who plays Jacob. And so we, like, paid for the photo opportunity. And it's just too good. It's almost like some kind of fan fiction. It's just, like, better than you could imagine. But we go, and, like, your dad had this all planned. We take the picture. Jacob puts his arms around us. And then your dad says to him, "Wow, touched by Jacob." And he says, "You're candidates now." Like, how perfect is that?
Then Dad had to ruin it up and say, "From your mouth."
Well, all that matters is that it was pretty amazing. And when Annie, like, finally
got to the Jacob part, my dad was like, "I got a story for you."
We're just waiting to, like, show her this picture.
Oh, right. We haven't even talked about this on the podcast yet, but, like, they're brothers. And I predicted that.
Yes.
I predicted that they were going to be twin brothers.
Okay, who's twin brothers?
The Man in Black and Jacob.
The Smoke Monster and, yes. But Annie, you were really jealous, though, when like, you learned that story. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so do you want to do what's up with that?
It's like, what's up with that?
So our what's up with that is that we see lots of people at Center Mall. We even just saw Hurley today, and I thought we were going to display it.
Go ahead and get it.
Oh, okay.
As we may have shared before, there's a guy who really looks like Hurley at the record store in Center Mall, and he kind of acts like Hurley as well. Like, he really looks like Hurley. And kind of, today he was, like, the most normal he's been, but...
And so we got the Life of a Showgirl, this nice variant.
It's the variant.
It's the Summertime Spritz variant. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
That's our little mini shout out. And, you know, Hurley's not the only one that we've seen.
At Center Mall, no less.
That's true, because you can't forget Brent and Pat. But, what we're talking about is, one time we saw this man, and he's just doom scrolling on his phone, and he looks exactly like Jacob. Yeah. Just, like, crazy like
we're
Jacob.
We're both like, look, it's Jacob.
But that's not the weirdest thing of all, because he has, I kid you not, like, I can't make this stuff up. He has a wagon full of like toddlers, like babies, just babbling.
Yeah,
just
and
babbling.
very happily babbling.
And then they're just like playing, and there must have been like 6 of them.
Probably, yeah.
And
he's not even paying attention
no,
to them.
he's just on his phone, and we were like, what is happening? Like, we knew that they started their program at a very young age, because that's what Richard says to John Locke, but like, they're illiterate. Can we please wait until they actually have said mama and dada to make them run the island?
But that was, of course, our conclusion, that they were candidates, and he was recruiting them for the island. And I mean, I think that's pretty clear that that is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's our what's up with that. But let's talk about now what I think is one of the worst episodes of Lost. But it is the episode where it's finally explained who Jacob and the Man in Black are. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Why don't you? I feel like I've been talking way too much.
Well, because I don't really like that episode. But yeah, so it turns out, as Annie said, they're twin brothers. And when did you guess that? At the beginning, when they were being born?
No, like when she's pregnant, I was like, I think I know what's going on here. Like, it's all gonna add up, and they're gonna be twin brothers, like Jacob and Esau, sort of thing.
Right.
And then I was right. So
yeah, so there's this woman on the island. Seems like this all happened very, very long time ago. Like even before the Black Rock crashed on the island.
yeah,
right?
which was already like so long ago.
So who knows when it was, but we don't really know very much about this woman. She's just pregnant. She gives birth to these twins.
Right, but she actually meets another woman who helps her give birth, and then that other lady who has a really bad, like, Spanish, right?
I think
Latin?
so. I don't know. I watched the episode once. I don't like that episode, so I'm a little fuzzy on the details.
She has such a bad, whatever language it is, like, I don't even speak it, and I could tell it was wrong. And she kills the mom. Kills the, like, fresh out of labor mom.
Right. So their actual mother is killed by this woman.
And then this woman, I guess, just, like, and I think they're actually wrapped in the colors, like,
yeah.
Jacob's wrapped in white, unnamed is wrapped in black.
The other brother.
Yeah, he never gets a name. So don't even ask.
But it is very much the light and dark, which has been kind of the theme in Lost since the very beginning, right? When Locke was playing that game with Walt. What's the game again?
Backgammon?
Anyway,
No, wrong.
It's like the black pieces and
yeah,
the white
you're so right. Yeah, and they're
because like Jacob is like fair and blonde, and then the brother is like got dark hair and yeah. And what happens?
They grow up. I think that unnamed Smokey, he's kind of the favorite of the mom.
Yeah.
Or, like, I don't actually know. She's not a good mom, though.
No, and there's this weird kind of rivalry between them.
Yeah, and the mom makes it very clear that they're not allowed, like, that there is no other people, but when other people come, she's like, oh, yeah, no, they're evil. They're evil, they're gonna kill you. Top 10 parents, by the way, on the island.
Yeah.
And they just kind of grow up in rivalry and hate each other, but then something happens and like some conflict happens, and then like Jacob, right, at a very young age they were shown the
heart of the
island,
yeah.
and so
told to never go in there.
When they're adults, Jacob genuinely drowns his brother in the thing, but to his surprise, instead of just his body kind of staying there, it went down into the well thing and came out as black smoke.
Yes.
So that's how we are like, oh, that's what's going on.
So that's the origin of the smoke monster.
Yeah.
And yet he can still appear as the brother.
Yeah,
right? The adult.
It wasn't like, yeah, and they hate each other. And
there's like scenes of them, and this is like hundreds, probably several hundred years go by, but they still talk to each other. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Jacob's job is to make sure that his brother never ever gets out. and never, like, leaves. And I think that the mom was just kind of, like, mortal. Like, she died pretty normally.
Right.
And they grew up normally, too. They just kind of never died.
Well, but was Jacob normal or no? Because he's, like, immortal.
They're both immortal. I think she's, like, made it... Right, and then she makes it so that they can never hurt each other, too. And that's the...
Right, so that's why Jacob can't actually
But I
kill
think
the
that
Man
they
in Black.
grow up normally, and the mom, you know, grows normally, dies, and then once they kind of hit that mark, they just never grow up again.
Yeah, so the ongoing struggle through, like, generations of people is that the Man in Black is looking for a loophole to get off the island, and Jacob cannot let this happen. Why exactly?
He's gonna spread his evilness or whatever.
I guess so, right? That it's like there's this kind of plug, you know, on the evil, and if he... So the idea is, like, if he leaves the island, basically the world is doomed, because the island is really protecting the whole world, right? So it's a little bit like, I guess that's why I was so disappointed, because we're waiting and waiting, and, like, normally I'm annoyed with people that complain about Lost and say, oh, I didn't like the finale, but I really felt like there was no payoff for the Jacob Man in Black story. It just didn't land for me, but it is what it is. And so then what is the loophole, I guess, that the Man in Black...
Yeah, so he takes the body of John Locke and forces Ben to kill him, rightfully so.
So...
To kill Jacob.
Yeah, and we don't realize this for a while, right? We actually think,
I figured it out.
Like, pretty
before.
soon, but we think, oh, good, like, John Locke is back, like, the island brought him back to life, although there is sort of that niggling doubt of, like, but that's never happened, and, you know, Ben says, like, he's never seen that happen before. So, sure enough, our fears are confirmed. John Locke is dead, but the Man in Black has taken his form and manipulated Ben to kill Jacob. So Jacob really has to hurry up and find his replacement.
Right.
And who is it?
Jack.
Jack is just like, let me do it. You know?
I was born for this.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And how long is Jack the new Jacob?
One day.
One day.
Not even, I don't think.
Not
like,
even,
I don't even
yeah.
think it's like a full 24 hours.
But this
And
is
then he
the
dies.
exciting conclusion that he dies fighting Flock. And, you know, actually, like, they get Desmond to go down into the heart of the island because it's, like, very much, you know, electromagnetic
But
activity.
not to fear, the island is in even better hands now because Ben Linus convinced Hurley to be Jacob.
Yes.
Right. And he's his number 2. So
yeah. So basically, what happened is during that time that this plug was sort of removed, it sort of seems like, oh no, this is terrible. But then the Man in Black becomes like mortal, like he becomes vulnerable, and so Jack is able to mortally wound him, kill him. Then, you know, they put the plug back in, and actually, it is really sad when Jack dies. Like, he dies pretty heroically. And he's, like, looking up at the sky and seeing the plane.
And then Vincent lays down beside.
Yeah. So it's a real hero's death for Jack. But that's kind of the tragic tale of Jacob and his brother, the Man in Black. So we're a little over time already, but let's go to the hot take.
Right. So my hot take is that what is Jacob's deal? Genuinely, what is Jacob's deal? If you're not a Twilight fan, you're not allowed to be Team Jacob because Jacob was not a good guy.
Like, he's supposed to be the good guy, right? It's supposed to be, like, good versus evil.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not Team Man in Black, but I'm not Team Jacob either because he's not, like, a good protector of the island either. He doesn't care about anybody living on the island at all. Yeah. He let the Dharma Initiative be purged because he didn't care.
Right.
Lets Alex die too, which is like what set Ben off to kill Jacob.
Yeah.
He lets Alana die, who was, you know, it's never confirmed whether or not she's his actual daughter. There are, like, speculations that she is, but like she says that he was the closest thing she had to a father. He just lets her explode.
Yeah. She's probably his most loyal follower. She does
like,
everything he asks.
Yeah, think about how much she's like gone through to bring Saeed back to the island.
Yeah. And then the minute that her mission is accomplished,
yeah, she just blows up, and he doesn't even care.
Yeah.
So I'm not falling for this propaganda that Jacob's a big hero. He's not.
And so this was another disappointing thing for me because, like, for a while it seemed like Jacob, you know, I said was this kind of deity figure. And I sort of thought, well, maybe this is like a metaphor, you know, for God or for Jesus. And it seemed that way. Like in the episode where he touches everybody, it seemed like, oh, look, he's like watching over them at, you know, important points in their lives.
And then in the lighthouse, it's Jack's childhood house.
Yeah. And it's sort of this idea of like they all have a, you know, Jacob has a plan for everyone. There's this destiny. But Jacob, like, unlike God, like, he doesn't actually care about the people for who they are and, like, their own well-being. He only cares about protecting the island. So it is a little bit disappointing. And there's that just strange scene where, you know, Ben has been manipulated to kill Jacob, and he sort of confronts Jacob and says, like, everything I did, like, I did for you, like, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's kind of like, what about me? And what does Jacob say?
What about you?
What about you? Like, pretty harsh. And so that is why Ben kills him.
I mean, and is, like, do we really get to blame him for that? Not really. And it didn't even make that big of a difference because now the island is in much better hands with Hurley.
Well, that's another good point. Like, you know, Ben says to Hurley, hey, like, maybe you can do things differently than Jacob. You know, maybe you can let people leave. And, you know,
rather than just, like, trapping them there.
Yeah. And they often talk about the island as sort of a personification, like a character, like the island's not through with you, the island won't let you go. It's not totally clear if the island is its own force or if the island is just Jacob. But it does seem like the island or Jacob even has power off the island, like on the mainland. So yes, that's our episode.
Our last shout out.
Yeah.
Our loyal fans who have just been supporting us forever, who even got us like a nomination at the Golden Globes for Best Podcast. You guys have been just dropping thousands of likes, just commenting every single day, watching, just waiting until we post it every single... What day do we post?
Wednesday.
Every single Wednesday. Just, you know, giving us comments. Oh, I love this episode. Do one about Horace. And, you know, we've gotten so many requests from... Joe and Sterling Bowman and, you know, Radzinski himself. And, you know, it's just so unfortunate that all of this has to come to an end. But...
And we also, before we want to thank you for your patience in sort of putting up with our, like, weird obsessions.
With our, you know, controversial views, our
Yes.
hot takes.
Me not talking loud enough. All of these things. We just appreciate you hanging in there with us.
But don't be afraid because we will re-record the first, like, two.
So it's not quite over yet.
And it won't even be over then because we do have another podcast on the way, but we will probably take, like, a couple weeks break in between. Yeah. But we will let you know when we're going to get started with our new podcast.
So we'll give you, like, a heads up now. If you want to get ready for our next podcast, you could start watching Law & Order Criminal Intent. What did you think we were going to do a podcast about a current show that's, like, currently
you
on?
thought we were going to do one about Special Victims Unit because lots of people have watched that and almost nobody has watched this niche show from, like, 20 years ago? You're wrong. Do you even know
Have you
us?
learned nothing? And so on that very loving note, namaste.
And see you in another life.